Expert authority world, do you want more attention for your business? I know you do because you're already a successful entrepreneur. And I know I do because I got a new book, got new people, got all new kinds of stuff coming out with our publishing. How do you get exposure to this? Should I do this? Should I do that? There's all these great and different things, online, offline, direct mail, not mail, whatever. But how do you make it work together? I am beyond excited to have Mary Ann Pruitt on today's episode because she's a media buying expert and she's going to help us bridge this gap of should we, shouldn't we, where should we, how should we? And I'm going to bring her up right after we thank our sponsor. Every business needs a book, including yours. Visit freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com today to learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. Once again, that's freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Mary Ann Pruitt. Mary Ann, how are you?
Great. How are you, Mario?
I'm feeling very excited to learn because there's a lot I don't know. I'm really good at the stuff I do know, but there's a lot I don't know, and I have a feeling you're going to just take me to the next level and the entire audience. So tell us what we don't know, and what are some myths around media buying? Should we focus on online or offline? And yes, it's a trick question.
It's all a trick question when it comes to media because media has changed and evolved so much, especially in the last few years with the pandemic. And it's an ever-changing landscape. And for marketers and for businesses, for brands, it's how do I really navigate this landscape? How do I continue to move in it? What do I do? Where do I spend my budget? And really, the answer is more surprising than you'd think, is that we actually need to start back at who our target audiences are. We have to go old school and figure out through of who are those target audiences, and then we build the strategy around it and the plan around it.
I love that. Old school is, I love reading stuff from at least 100 years ago because if it worked then and we have all the advantages we have now, I think it'll still work despite what new tech has come out. I'm not even going to say it because everyone's going to get fixated on it. But you said one thing in there, figure out your budget. Well, you said the word budget, but how do you establish it and figure it out? I mean, I know people, I'm thinking of like a dozen of them right now that go, we don't work with anyone unless they're spending 100 a day, 1,000 a day. And there's other people that think 100 a month, they get the little Google coupon to try AdWords or whatever. And they're like, well, I tried it and it don't work.
Well, and at the end of the day, it does go back to who your target audience is and who you're trying to reach and what are your goals. So oftentimes what ends up happening in any paid marketing effort whatsoever, I don't care if it's media, I don't care if it's putting up a kiosk in a mall, any of those types of marketing efforts, you have to look and see what is our long-term goal with this. And don't just say increase sales, because of course that's everybody's long-term goal, but truly put some measurables on it. Where do we want to go? It's increased traffic, it's increased impressions, overall brand awareness, because where I'm going to go with it and where we're going to look at planning and budgeting has to do with what that goal is. If I actually just want to increase our brand and make our brand stronger and bigger and better known, that's a totally different tactic than actually if I'm looking at bottom of the funnel of closing a sale. And how are those budgets going to work? Because if I'm looking at just closing a sale, then I actually need to look at a different funnel approach. So work backwards from the goals, identifying who our target audiences are and really focus in on who our target audiences are, and then figure out what the paid efforts are going to be and build the budgets around it. Because if our overall goals actually outline numerically and monetizing, then we can then back into it and see exactly where we got to go. But if we don't set goals, then we're literally wandering in the wilderness and not knowing exactly where we want to go.
Take us through what were the first 3 things you consider, like if you say establish this goal and identify your target market, you're given some good insight as far as brand awareness. Do you want to close sales? I just got to ask, is there anyone you suggest don't close sales? Let's just go out there and get the word out, because
if you're not a known brand, you have to do some homework to be known. And so those are some things at the very beginning. A lot of times people go into timing of when you're going to do it. So if you're not known in a space, let's say you're a tech company, but you're not known in a specific space yet. And I'm just throwing out an industry as an example, but you have high competitors that are known in that space. be careful of when you're launching. And if you're looking at it at the end of the day, you probably need to build some brand awareness to be known in the space for what you're looking for. So you can do tactics together. You can do multiple tactics. So let's build some brand awareness, but then maybe have a bottom of the funnel offer that then brings in the sale from there. So brand awareness as a whole of this is a product that you want to buy, and this is who you want to buy from, and this is something that you want to have, building brand awareness. So that's your video streaming, your connected television, OTT, maybe some streaming audio, maybe some traditional tactics as well, just to get your name out there. But then once it gets down to the bottom funnel, your offerings, that's when you're going to bring in some social, maybe some Google, some PPC, and then those offerings are going to take place because they're looking for a very specific solution, but now they know your brand. So this is taking that funnel through the full approach of knowing, okay, yeah, I need to know, in order for somebody to buy it, I have to be safe and I have to be a good brand that they understand. And that's something that a lot of people don't want to put the homework into the top of funnel brand awareness. They just want to get to the bottom line of the sale. Be patient, plan this out. I understand that you're going to you have investors that you have to have a return on. You have to return on your money as well. But if you do it right and you're building that yellow brick road correctly, then that's when the sales are going to come in.
Can't argue with yellow. So I love everything you're saying, and the fact that you mentioned set-top boxes and over-the-top. For anyone who doesn't know what those are, one, if you could elaborate, and two, explain how you can get us there, because there's probably 1 out of 100 people mentioning it, and I think you might be that 1 out of 100.
Yeah. So right now, and actually to really give an idea, I really like to go back into history because I've been in media for a very long time, a little over 25 years now that I've been in the media world. So when I started in media, you actually,
5?
but yeah, thank you, Mario. I do appreciate that. But when I started in media, we had to go the traditional route, but we only had a few options. You had your television, you had your radio, you had your print,
Newspaper.
and you had your outdoor. Yeah, in print, that was newspaper. Your newspaper was big. Your phone book was big. Like that all falls into the print category, right? And then you had your out of home, your billboards, things along those lines, depending on which market you're in. Not all markets had it. And so that's it. That's all you had. That's what you were limited to. So when you look at that and you see the evolution to where we are today, we actually are using very similar tactics. We're just consuming them differently, meaning television and streaming television, OTT, connected television, over-the-top television, streaming video, streaming audio, those things. I'm still consuming a similar product of television. I'm just consuming it differently. So what does that mean for today? The beauty of it is, if I go back into history, I had to be very broad in a demographic. We used to send out RFPs and go, okay, I need adults that are between the ages of 18 and 54. That's what I'm going to base my cost per points on. That's what I'm going to base my gross rating points on. That's what I'm going to base it all on. Okay. Now, first, 18 to 54, I always thought it was weird because I can't reach the 18-year-old the same way the 54-year-old was, but we put them all together. We did.
You remind me of when I was doing cable advertising, and it was like, oh, we're in the Detroit mega zone, and it was the suburbs, this and that. And I'm like, the demographic from the city to a suburb A to B to C, the age range, it's like,
it's night and day. Yeah. And it really was throwing anything to the wall to see what would stick. Now, mind you, that's what we had available to us. We knew who the top rated stations were. That's how we were going after it. Now, I can't even get into the traditional side of it because I think traditional is not dead. I think there's just ways that we have to do it correctly. But now if I fast forward
and QR code on a billboard on the freeway on a turn,
which there's so many things that, yes, correct. But you'd be surprised how many people will click on that QR code. But yes, for safety reasons, you probably should not. But maybe using a QR code on a digital television ad or a QR code for different ways of doing it, right? So, but think of it in this sense. We still are consuming television. We're just now consuming it through a streaming device, as opposed to consuming or multiple. Typically, it's multiple. Now we have multiple streaming. Now we have multiple things. So what does that mean for us as advertisers and marketers? That means I don't have to go broad demographic anymore. I can go individual behaviors and I can target there. That's where the importance of your target audience comes in, is let's find out what the individual behaviors are of my audience and where they are. And then I'm placing and buying my ad buys based on the data sets of who they are as individuals and where they're actually showing up. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to look and say, okay, I need to find gardeners that are caring, that want to fix their garden up, or maybe experts in it, various things. I'm going to find their habits and I'm going to find their behaviors. And then the data is going to tell me where they are. And that's where I go into it and I buy it. So it's different. It's more evolved. It's more strategic than it's ever been. It also can be overwhelming because we have so many different options, but that's why you really, truly let your target audience be your guide.
We're going to dive deeper here, and I love this because I know people are thinking Amazon, Google, LinkedIn, all these, Facebook, that's easy. Everyone knows about that. You said one word right now that made me smile because no one talks about it. Unless it's internal for our ad campaigns or something. The customer's habit, the target audience habit. How do you pinpoint what their habits are for your ideal target audience?
Your audience is already telling you. If you are a brand, they are telling you their habits right now. You need to collect data if you're a brick and mortar, collect habits on what they are looking at and buying together. Have your team start taking interest points, start taking observations, various things there. So that's number one. What kind of car are they pulling up in? What kind are we seeing patterns? Data always tells us a story. We just overcomplicate and overthink data. And that's everything is a data, from the color of their clothes to the car that they're driving. If they have a pet in the car, how many children they have when they walk in. Those are all data points. We just don't think of them as data points. So when we identify and we get to know who our customers are, and then we get to know them even better, that's where we can go in and target even more. So overall, let's find out what their behaviors are. But then also let's take a journey as brands and say, who is my ideal customer? I can also define them. I can also define and say, okay, I know that I'm selling X, Y, and Z gadget. X, Y, and Z gadget helps gardeners save time on their gardening. And that's the benefit to them, right? It's going back to old school marketing of what is the product that then what's the problem solving product that then gives them the benefit.
Like a hose versus a watering can. Instead of making 48 trips, you just go nuts with it.
Exactly. So how do you're knowing ideally, because when you create any product, I don't care if it's a service or a product, you have that customer in mind. You have that ideal customer of who they are already. And what we do is overcomplicate it as marketers. We're like, oh, I need to go find 20 different people in this because I can sell to anybody. No, find who is the right person. Look at your current customers, look at who your ideal customer is, and actually start writing that out and start going after them. Start looking at them, get to know them, give them a name, and start digging in really deep and really focus on it.
I love that you're sharing all that. Again, there's not many people talking on this, and the ones I do talk to it about, it's not everyday stuff. So let's go even deeper.
Yeah.
You said their cars are driving up. I thought of a business locally. My question now is, where's the point where you go, we're doing reconnaissance, intel, data gathering? I love it, by the way. This is great. But where's that privacy line of okay, we've officially become the FBI, and you know what I mean? Because all joking aside, there are people who are they truly want to help. They really want to serve their customer, their client. This is new to them. They want to do it, but then there's this whole I don't want to get too much in their face, this and that. How do you, I don't even want to say skirt the line. How do you decide, here's how much I'm willing to go? Because the reality is pretty much everyone could be the FBI now, and all the data floating around if you know how to scrape it.
Well, and where that line is where you're crossing a personal line. Where is it that it's a personal, moral, ethical line that you're crossing? That's where you don't want to go past that. And frankly, most marketers and most advertisers are not crossing that line. They are
need to.
And you don't need to. There's no need to. And really what you're doing is just building strategies to uplift and offer help to your target audience. That's what you're doing. You're trying to actually offer the service
Right.
that you need. You're taking your ad buys and targeting them based on their habits. That's not crossing a line. You're using partners that have data that people have willingly given up. That's what they've done. They've
That's the
provided
key.
it,
They,
and
it's public and willingly given up. Like you said, someone walks into the store, you already can pinpoint kids, dog, car, spouse, significant other, what they're wearing, what they're doing, what they're saying.
And that's just actually old school observation of marketing. That is where, if we go back to the old general store, they knew everybody by name. They knew their
Mm-hmm.
kids' names. They knew when their birthdays were because they were going to come in and buy a birthday present. They knew these things, right? But that wasn't a weird line. That's a relationship line. So those
Right.
are things that if you have to think through of, I don't care if you're a multi-billion-dollar company down to just a mom and pop shop, you have to know, and what's the key thing is building a relationship with your key audience. So it's when you cross that line, which majority of advertisers are not going to cross that line. They're going to be ethical in it. And that's where it's key. That's where it's important, is that you're finding the right partners to work within. And then that gets into the value of your spend, of how you're spending your money, who you're spending your money with. Have an actual partnership, not just a vendor. Find a good media partner that can help you through the journey and walk you through that journey and be there with you as a partner. Not just a vendor checking boxes, because you're going to find ways that in this space, it is really important to make sure that you are doing brand protection for your own brand, making sure that you are showing up where you actually should be showing up, not doing anything unethically, not going and skirting any lines, because there's no need to.
I agree. And the reason I brought it up is it's more of an arbitrary, kind of like selling. Some people have a high propensity for I love selling, and some people are like, I don't want to ask someone for the sale. It's like this
Right.
weird dichotomy of like, well, you have a business. How do you expect to get clients if you never ask for the sale? And there's so much floating around now. What I'm hearing a lot of is you can do as much or as little as you want. It's all free and public access anyhow. And everyone's already giving it to you. Just listen more and pay attention.
Well, it's relationship. It's when you're then placing the ads to get to, you've gotten to know your audience already. Now you're placing ads to just target them, so that your ad buys are actually just more targeted and more efficient with their spend. You're not just spending money to spend money. You're efficient.
It's not mud against the wall anymore,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
great.
We have this benefit of being able to do this in today's world. But if we also approach it with, we're there to help our customer to provide and solve a problem, that's the next level of relationship. That's what your relationship as a brand is to that individual.
I think it's the double tree that they're so nice to everyone. They reward them with a cookie for staying there,
Right, right.
and
That's exactly,
we
I
can
love
do the
to get
same
my
thing,
double
can't
free
we?
cookie. Exactly.
I
So
like
those
you. I like that you
are
said relationship. It reminds me of there was this boat store I was working at back a couple years, a few decades ago, and the people that came in, it was I always looked for the relationship and like looked for you don't have to be a rocket surgeon to go, oh, it's springtime. They
yes.
probably need bottom paint. They probably need life jackets if they're under. So I started pre-filling the carts physically in the store. I'm not talking e-com. Like, oh, here's what you bought last time and all the stuff we have now. But when I saw them pull up, I'd run and grab, I mean, the majority of what I could remember they had. And I was like, Dan, Sally, how's it going? They're like, you're kidding me. I'm like, anything else? And there was people that were like, I think you got it all. And we just
Well,
literally had them come in and out, and they were so happy about it.
and that's not sales, but you sold. So it's relationship selling. And that's where
Boy,
I
just trying
don't,
to make the day funner. I mean,
well, and for you, and what's the efficiency there? They didn't have to, there's so many multifolds there, right? You were efficient for them. You were efficient for the store owner. You were efficient for your time to be able to then help the next customer. So look at all the above that took place there, and look at the loyal customer that you will have forever because you went above and beyond with the customer service. So when we're looking at ad placement, there's no reason to not be able to do the exact same thing. You are then serving your ad that is going to help this individual, that is going to be there. Let's talk about retargeting. If they've gone and they've already searched you up, they've already clicked on your ad, they've already been on your website, and now we're going to retarget them with that later, that's actually a benefit to them because they don't have to think, oh, wait, what was that brand that I went and I found
100%.
and I looked at it and I did this? No, now you're retargeting it back to them where then they can go directly to your site now to be back there and to purchase it.
It's
So
my biggest value add when I'm busy or walking out the door or in the middle of something and like in between meetings in real life or something. I love seeing ads because I know all I got to do is click it. And when I have time, it's going to pop its head back.
come back. Exactly.
It's
And
like
that's why marketers need to be making sure that they're doing retargeting. What are they doing to get that ad out? And so, at the beginning, we talked about like, what are the different tactics? What are the different things here? And, everybody knows the Amazon, Google, and Facebook, everybody knows those platforms. And we work in those platforms. We do a lot of work in those platforms, but those aren't the only platforms. Those aren't the only things. That's why it's really important to find that media partner to help you with it, focusing in on it, because of the fact that if you're just looking at, okay, yeah, this is the tactic X, Y, Z, I can try this myself. The $100 coupon didn't go anywhere. That didn't do anything for me. Then it really, truly was $100 wasted. It wasn't exactly what you wanted to have done. So you have to look and say, okay, what else is there? Because social media, Facebook is not the targeting tool it once was. You used to be able to very much hyper target. It's not the same thing. You can build lookalike audiences if you have first-party data that you've collected, but it's not the same targeting. So Google, same thing. Google is a form of programmatic. There's one, but it's one data set. So then let's get into full-blown programmatic where we're looking at OTT, connected TV, but with multiple databases available to us. That's where finding that partner is really important. And I don't mean TV vendors. I don't mean going straight to vendors. I mean people that have direct seats to these DSPs that are able to bid on your behalf, make sure that your brand is protected, and make sure that you're reaching the audience that you're supposed to reach.
I love that you're mentioning that, and you made me smile again. I was remembering like circa 2012 to 14 prior to things happening. I don't even want to mention it, but thanks for ruining it for all of us. But I remember those parameters back in the day. We started some of the first Facebook stuff in about 2012, and it was just like, wow, this is crazy. Then it's like, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what came out. And then I think like 6 months later, it was like, holy smokes, guess what they just released? And it was like everything.
Yep, that's exactly right.
It's all and again, it was all public stuff people were giving, but it was like John Smith, this area that, I mean, it was so useful. And what people, is it still true that these platforms want you to be hyper targeted so that way you're not wasting the ad spend because it makes them look better and you're saving money?
That's any platform now, is that the more targeted, they are all having to compete with each other to be targeted. The difference is though in Facebook, and Facebook has its place, do not get me wrong. It very much does. And I'll take this as we had a small campaign, very small campaign, we're talking a few tens of thousands of dollars smaller. And they had only used social media in the past. Well, social media is not the targeting tool that it once was, but that's all they ever knew, right? And they were, no, we want to do this again and again. And we said, you know what? Let's take this portion of the budget, not the whole budget. We'll take this sliver and keep it there in social media, but let's take this portion of the budget and let's programmatically bid this. And let's go after very specific people and behaviors that we want to go after. And the results were through the roof for them because they were like, wait a minute, I can do that with the same size budget. Because I think oftentimes people think through of, well, I'm not a multi-billion-dollar company, which we work with those. We work with the biggest of the big to the smallest of the small. And when you can work, you can have that money, but even if you are the biggest of the big, you want your money spent efficiently. You don't want it just spent. Everybody needs their money spent efficiently, especially in today's market and marketplace. So when you look at it in this sense, you have to then take out and pull back and go, okay, if I have this budget that's limited, why wouldn't I then start to dabble in these other areas and actually just go very targeted and efficiently targeted to my target audience? And so and social media has been the budget friendly option. And that's why people get stuck there and just go straight there. Where I am not saying that it's not an option. It very much is. We do a lot in the
But don't
Facebook.
put 95% towards it.
Find different ways and tactics. Find where your audience is. And in today's world, not everybody used to be able to afford television. Now you can. That's the beauty of today, right? We weren't always able to. Not everybody had hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars to be able to spend, and tens of millions if you were a national brand. Not everybody had that. Now in today's world, let's hyper target and find ways that we can target with these programmatic tools, complementing what you're doing on social, complementing what you're doing on other pieces, and exasperate it and make it a multiplier.
I love that idea. I remember doing the TV ads with the. I mean, I'm going back to 02, 05, 08.
Yep.
And even then, it was like semi affordable, and it made sense. But yeah, I think so many people, especially online, social, email. Oh, email is so inexpensive. Yeah, because it's not a bad thing, but it's like when you combine it with text and social and offline and
well, now is the day of being able to actually have an omni-channel approach.
right.
We've all dreamed of it. When I started in media, it was, oh, I wish I could do TV, print, radio, all the above. I wish I had that for the
But you
small
needed
business.
the budget to do it. It
You
wasn't as
have to have
easy
the
as it
budget
is
for it.
now.
Now that we, like I said, we've worked with brands that have had the budget, and that's great, and they've had it. But now I can even take those brands that have the budget and be more efficient, more timely, more focused and driven to what our bottom line is than ever before. And so why wouldn't we take advantage of it?
And it's easier to track. It's not,
Oh my
what was it,
gosh.
Ogilvy with, you know, 50% of my ad budget isn't working. I just don't know which
Exactly. I
50%.
just don't know what 50%. And I remember, and I tell this story all the time. When I first started in media, I remember having a sales manager and a customer, a business had asked, well, how do I know what's working and what's not? And he goes, well, is your cash register ringing? And I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. I just wanted to vomit, right? It was like, ugh, that's so gross. But that was the only way to actually tell was, okay, are we getting enough sales? Are we not? Are we increasing? But I don't know which 50% of my advertising is working. Now I can track when they're clicking on it. How many clicks am I
It
getting
was the
from the
13th variation of ad 6 from Tuesday.
exactly. Which ad did they click on? I can do A/B testing to see which audience is working better with which ad. I can then see how long were they on my website? What were they doing on the website? What
Yep.
did they
Track the
form?
heat
Did they
map once
purchase
they're there.
anything? That's exactly right. And then I can retarget them if they didn't purchase anything. Or even if they did purchase something, I can still retarget them. So these are all things that now we are more efficient if we do it correctly with media spend than we've ever been before. And we need to be focused on being this efficient.
So we should all be like Doubletree and hand out more cookies.
Yes. Well, first, you can never go wrong with cookies. Just saying. But and really, truly, what is the experience when your customers get to you? Are you making it friendly? Are you seeing, and that goes back to the brand recognition. If you don't have brand recognition as a viable brand, as a trustworthy brand, and you're selling something and they get to your website, they may be clicking on ads galore, but then they're like, is it a scam? Is it
Yeah.
real?
The
I don't
conversion,
know.
the actual
The
conversion, not
conversion
just the click
side of
through.
it is very important. So how do you make sure that not only is that bottom of funnel of clicking is happening, what is the branding that's taking place to make sure that they do trust your brand, that they do know who you are?
Wow. So many good points here. I have so much more to ask, but I want to ask a little. You know what? No, I'm going to throw in one more.
Okay, all right, go
So
for it.
let's do one more, then I'll do the fun thing.
Okay.
So you just took us through this whole pipeline, and I love it. And since you touched on it right here about they get to the website, there's the offer, the product, the service. The ads are just the first part. I know this. The headline, the benefits, the creative, all these things, great. You're what's a typical conversion rate, or a high one, you would say now?
It actually depends on your industry. So it
Okay.
really depends on what you're selling. So it's everything. It really, really, truly depends. And so what you should be looking for is your cost per conversion,
Acquisition.
and talk about your cost of acquisition. So that's where finding that media partner and building that ahead of time, that's a KPI to define ahead of time. This is where my goal cost of conversion and cost of conversion and cost of acquisition is. This is where I want to be. And really, it's not, it depends. I mean, if you're in tourism, if you're a dental office, if you're whatever it
Right.
is, it varies. And it, because there's some that's going to take a lot more trustworthiness to get you there, and a lot more branding to get you there, than on the other end where it could be just a quick sale, because maybe you already have a very high existing brand and now you're just doing bottom of funnel, and that conversion is going to be there. So it really depends on industry. It depends on brand recognition and who you are, but finding that good media partner to help walk you through that journey is really important to be able to set those goals. So what are goals and KPIs that you should be looking for in your media buy? Is look for your click-through rate. Look at what your conversion rates are there too, and what's your cost of conversion, and what is your video completion rate, how long that video is actually being viewed all the way through,
Mm-hmm.
where are they hanging out in your website, tag them. That's the other thing. Talk to your media partners, make sure that they are doing conversion tracking on the back end and actually tagging your site and giving you those tags on the ads to then convert and be able to follow it. So it really is a broad, wide gamut based on everything that
What
you're
about
doing.
cart abandonment? That's pretty telling also.
It is. It very much is. And that's where you can, but then that's where retargeting comes in too. So if cart abandonment is there, you want to make sure that then you're retargeting of, hey, you left things in your cart. We all get the emails, right? We all get the ads of, hey, your cart's lonely, or hey, your cart misses you, or whatever it is. Push notification. That's another new tactic that is starting to happen more and more. So these are things that you as a marketer need to be thinking through, but it does tell you a story. It tells you that they're interested enough to put something in a cart. So keep that in mind. When somebody is putting something in a cart, they're interested enough. Now it's probably your job to just remind them that they like what they saw, and see where else they were hanging out.
Or
Are there
split
other?
test the offer.
Yeah, that's absolutely an option as well. So there's all these different things that you can do on it, and making sure that you're testing it, that you're test what works with your audience. It goes right back to your audience, and test it and see what happens. See what you do when let's try this promo and test it out. People get so scared of trying promos, and in reality, they work. So test them and see. It doesn't always dilute your brand. It doesn't always make it an exclusive thing. Make it something that then carries it all the way through to get to the bottom line of the sale.
Or
Test
something
things.
that you normally don't offer.
Correct.
Like
Test
if you have a
things.
high ticket offer and you
Yes.
normally don't do just one-on-one calls as a one-off, maybe you
Right.
say, hey, I set aside time this month to do 10 of them.
That's exactly right. And maybe it's with existing customers only, and it's a one-time only thing, high ticket item that you would do. Those are all things that, again, it goes back to being helpful to your target audience.
So much wisdom, so much wisdom. Got to ask about the websites. We touched on heat maps, tracking on the websites. What could you tell us real quick about, okay, we got them through the funnel. Everything's good. It's converting. And the reason I brought that up, I'm thinking of one of my very first client from '08. It was a pizza place. He was thrilled to send out 10,000 coupons, flyers, whatever, to the area. And he had like, 1% conversion rate, and he was thrilled about it. And now I know people that if their open rate for email and conversion is like less than 60%, they're irritated. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's
So,
quite varied.
and it's also setting the expectations out of the gate, right? So yes, in some industries, 1% is going to be absolutely gold and perfect. That's again where you have to find your right partners or working with them, and making sure that you're setting the goals, expectations correctly, not overshooting it, not over promising and under delivering. That's a really key thing. And when it gets into media, talk to your media providers about overall impression guarantees.
Mm-hmm.
what do make goods look like? What are things like that? So it is going back and making sure that you have the data that's telling you a story, and what is that conversion, and what are you going to be happy with? Communicate that ahead of time. And if you're fine, this is how you can test a real partner. They're going to tell you whether or not it's accurate or if it's realistic. If they look at you and like, oh yeah, guaranteed, no matter what, then
43% in
you be thinking about that, because it's not reality. That's not actually a great conversion rate. And so when you're looking at the heat maps of the website, when you're looking at the information, that is data that will tell us a story. It goes right back to what I was saying.
People are giving you.
Yes. Yes, they are giving this information. They want to give this information to you. You're just tagging your ads to see where they are and what they're doing, and heat mapping your site. So then, and then retargeting them when they're leaving. And that's just information that they are giving you. All of us know that this is being collected on every single individual. We all know it. We all know it's being collected on us. And that's at the end of the day, that's really the price of getting the internet for free. We get the internet for free, meaning
device data.
Yes. That's exactly right. All of it's there.
A lot of people don't realize that. YouTube actually works differently on your phone, tablet, and desktop.
Yes, it does. Well, it's so funny because if we get into, this is a different interview for a different day, but if we get into the generational differences and the makeup of the data and what generations are thinking about this and how we are building our media plans and our marketing plans based off of generational marketing, which generational marketing is changing significantly, but that's a totally different subject, and I'm happy to talk about it at a different time.
Sounds like a good 3-book series.
It's amazing. It's something that is really key. And when you look at it, Gen Z actually could care less that we're collecting data on them. They've never known anything different. You get your Gen Xers and your baby boomers. Those are the ones that are like, what data are you collecting on me? Why? Because Gen Z's never known anything different. Baby boomers and Gen Xers remember before the internet. They remember before data collection, when in reality, marketers have been collecting information on consumers since the beginning, since the very beginning. If you remember the old Sears catalogs, remember the old, like, all of these things, that was data collection. Yes, all of these things. We've been collecting data for hundreds of years, decades. You look at it, since we've been a country in the United States, we've collected information on people. Back to the old general store where they knew when.
Over to the country. What's your name?
Yes. That's all data.
You want a new one? Make it up. We're not going to know the difference.
You have no idea. As a family from Italian immigrants, we understand. And I get it. That was my life and my upbringing. I knew exactly what it was like. My whole family was immigrant.
To New York.
Yes. Well, and like my grandfather was Salvatore. He came as Sam because they couldn't say Salvatore. They had no idea how to spell that. They had no idea. So it became Sam. So those are the things that take place, right? And so that's data. And we are so scared of data when in reality, it's been collected on us for a long time. But if we look at the generational differences and we truly dive into that, Gen Z could care less, because they go, you know what, the more data you collect on me, actually, the better the ads are that are going to be served to my purpose that I actually care about. Where baby boomers, Gen Xers, and even millennials are kind of in that, I call them the cusp generation. They're really right in the middle of everything. And because they remember, the older millennials remember before the internet, the younger millennials have no clue before the internet, but things have evolved so much. And you look at that and you see, first, baby boomers and Gen Xers, you've had your data collected. Now it's just being collected differently.
Right.
And Gen Zs are like, thank you for just doing it more efficiently. So you're giving me exactly what I want to see. So it's really an interesting development and makeup of everything.
Yeah, it's kind of like a toss-up. Like, should we train everyone on history from the movie Titanic when Rose changes her name, or just use the Men in Black thing and flash everyone and now
that's exactly right. Dead? That's exactly right.
I love that you're touching on all of this. It really does sound like a good book series and another interview, but thank you for touching on it. I'm going to jump to the fun. Whoa. Oh, you're kidding me. Okay, we'll just spin this here. Is we good there? All right, wheel of whatever. Yellow or black?
Let's go yellow.
All right, there we go. Yellow. Nothing work related, but what's a hobby you would love to pursue that you never have yet?
Okay, are you ready for this one? Actually, yes. I've got a great answer on this. I want to try polo. I love horseback riding. I always have.
Okay.
But now I'm like, I really want to try polo. I don't know if I'd be any good at it. I haven't ridden a horse in a very long time, but I thought polo, I want to try polo. That's a hobby I want to try.
By when?
I actually have like a goal by spring of next year of 2024 that I've at least tried it, if not done it a couple of times.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest in the next year. Give
Yeah,
you a
were you
little
okay?
accountability.
Why not? Why not? It's good. Accountability is always good.
All right, we're going to thank the sponsor and come back for the imperfect action round. Every business needs a book, including yours. Visit freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com today to learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. Once again, that's freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com. And we are back with the imperfect action round. Mary Ann, are you ready to take imperfect action?
Yes.
3 rapid-fire questions for you. Oh, wait, I need 3 rapid-fire answers from you.
Okay, sounds
I
good.
got 3 rapid-fire questions for you. First
Okay.
one, what is the fastest path to the cash?
Oh man, fastest path to the cash is niching down. That's absolutely it. Find your niche and find your audience.
Love it. Number 2, what is the biggest problem you see your prospects making and the fastest way for them to fix it?
Is overselling, not
Ooh,
building a relationship, selling and not relationship building.
I could sell ice to an Eskimo. Like, I love when those people always seems like they're the ones not.
Actually selling.
You said it. Okay, 3. We could do a whole comedy hour of just stuff, I'm sure. Number 3, what's the third one? Come on. It's about your customer's lifetime value. What's the best way to maximize it?
Relationship. I'm going to go back to that is
Yeah,
maximize the relationship, get to know the relationship, build the relationship, invest in the
I'm
relationship.
in full agreement on that. Books you would recommend to expert authority world?
Okay. My favorite book is Never Eat Alone. That is one of my absolute favorite books. And I'm a big reader, so I'm constantly reading new books. So yeah, anytime you have me on, I'll have another book because I'm always reading something new.
Excellent. Where would you like people to learn more?
Yeah, you can go to our website, mosaic.agency. If you go mosaic.agency/contact, that comes directly back to us and comes to my email. If you ever want any questions answered about media or anything along those lines, I'm happy to help.
Very good. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad we got to connect and be able to do this. Appreciate the information. You're a rock star.
Well, thank you for having me, Mario. I appreciate it.
Pleasure was mine. All right, expert authority world. We have another great one here today. I'll see you on the next